The sun has gone in, but it's a beautiful day here at Deepdale. And Norwich have won, which is exciting. Now, if you just look, there's Tom Finney. If you look to the sort of 2 o'clock from his head, that's where me and Paddy were sat covering the game on a row where we couldn't, well, I certainly couldn't get to the toilet at half time. But anyway, you're not interested about that, so there we are. Hello. I'll spin it round. Here's Mr. Davitt. Do you reckon I can sit on here without falling over on? Thank you. We're getting an odd before my time, clearly. So welcome to Deepdale, where Norwich have won away from home. Now, hang on. Pad, this is the first away win you've seen since October the 1st.
Is it really as long as that?
Yeah.
It feels it.
Wolves, was like you missed Cardiff.
I did, yeah, I did. Wolves.
He's stunned. Look at him. He's stunned.
What a sad state of affairs that is. Bearing in mind I'd been to every other game, so effectively what we're saying is, since Wolves they've won prior to today one away game, and that was in doubt when they conceded at this end of the pitch when it went to 2-1. But a nice story for a change involving another fellow Coventry boy.
Yeah, I wondered how long you'd take to get that in. James
Don't
Maddison.
worry, we'll be getting plenty of references into that in the coming days.
I mean, I think there's credit to Alan Irvine here, because it was the right time, and I'm not saying there weren't other times to bring him on, but this was the right time to bring him on, the right conditions, the game was open, and he took advantage of the beautifully taken goal, and you want to see more of him now, don't we?
Yeah, we do. I thought it was interesting. We've obviously just done the post-match with Alan Irvine, and I asked him that. I said, because he'd said in the last few press conferences it has to be the right time, the right type of game, and referenced a Reading game rather than a Fulham game, and he felt even at 2-1, having had a little bit of a nervy 10 or 15 minutes, that Norwich were getting on top again, and he thought he was the perfect 15-20 minutes, was it, cameo he got, yeah. And a really composed finish. But what I've found interesting, he's basically sat him down and said, your chance will come, and we know what you can do with the ball, it's what you can't do without the ball. And in that sense, that's how Alex Neil was basically differentiating between Jacob and Josh. He felt Jacob, the penny had dropped, and he could put him in the side and trust him to do the stuff without the ball. Josh hadn't quite grasped that, hence why Jake was playing a lot more games, and it sounds like they've felt as a coaching team, maybe James Maddison is in that category, that there's no doubting the guy's ability. And we saw it with the goal, very composed finish, but you obviously need a bit more, particularly in the Championship, particularly as we've seen too often away from home. When you come under the cosh, you need lads who can just drop in and keep the shape and do the defensive side, which isn't the glamorous side of the game, but if you're going to be a player, then you need to do both. So yeah, really good signs, and I think he's going to be a part of the future, and that's something to cling to.
Yeah, let's definitely hope so. And also Josh, I thought so that was a pretty good outing from Josh. Obviously, we're taking it in the context of a Preston side who had nothing to play for and kind of looked like it at times.
First half they were very poor, weren't they? But you could tell, you sensed a bit more urgency. They came out a little bit earlier at half time. Simon Grayson had clearly had said his piece. And they did up in intensity, and Norwich, to be fair, rode their luck defensively again, not good enough. It was a bit last ditch. It was some poor finishing from their part as well. But yeah, no, talking of finishing, I thought Josh took his goal very well and was heavily involved in the move, and it was nice to see. It was a counter-attacking move with pace, directness, bang, 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 rather than, too often we see this Norwich side are a bit laboured, because that's the style of football they want to play. But I think when you've got a Josh Murphy in the side, you can do that. You have that injection of pace, and you can go through the thirds quite quickly. So that'll do his confidence no harm at all.
Norwich did hold out. They were 2-0 up and could have been more at half time. They then conceded the goal in the second half. They did hold out. Do we give them credit for that, or was there an element of profligacy from P&E?
P&E indeed. P&E. Yeah, there was. There was a literally a 2 or 3 moves phase there where straight after the goal, which was a poor goal to concede. Free kick just out here. Gallagher's whipped it in. I thought Johnny Howson, he seemed to misjudge the flight of the ball, and the guy's had a free header, and he's 16 yards out. That shouldn't happen. Set pieces, we've said it all season. And thereafter, it was literally Stephen Naismith, last ditch at the far post. That was a goal. And then from the corner, they've left Huntingdon unmarked on the other far post. It's not good enough. It's basic organisation and basic responsibility, and we've seen it too often. And they got lucky. Yeah, they got lucky in that sense. But give them credit. That I think there was only one more clear chance where there was a massive raking diagonal ball. Hugel's at the back post. He's volleyed it and it's just gone wide. But other than that, they did stem the bleeding, as it were. But I think if they were playing a side who were on it, then that would have been 2-2, maybe 3-2 to the home team.
Yeah, which has kind of been a case this season, of course, given if you have a look at where Norwich's results have come, all the good ones and the bad ones anyway. We've got to speak to Graham Dorrans, or I did after the game. Good to see him back. I mean, he called it the worst season he's had injury-wise in his career. And there are elements when you see Graham Dorrans play, we're like, well, you know, you can see why you'd want him playing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, having what I just said a little bit earlier about, particularly away from home, to be able to have that direct thrust when you might be under a bit of pressure, but you can literally just release the Josh Murphys, the Jacob Murphys of this world and penetrate sides very quickly. Dorrans isn't that type of player. He's not going to offer you that, but what he does offer you is control in terms of the way he can pass, his range of passing. But ultimately, I always feel he's going to need legs around him in those central areas, because he isn't. I mean, literally 2 minutes after the kick-off, he's give the ball away. He's been crowded out. They've turned it over, and Ruddy's had to save from McGeady. You know, I always feel that is the negative part of his game. There's no doubt when he's in a team on the front foot, playing well, having a lot of possession, he's your playmaker. He will set the tone. But too often this season, Norwich haven't been in that situation, particularly away from Carrow Road. So I think it's an option to have in the squad, but I personally would like to see a bit more dynamism in the centre of the park.
And I guess it's a fair point, again, that Norwich took the lead, had control of the game. From that point on, they've always tended to be good, haven't they, really?
Yeah.
There hasn't been much debate over that. So just to round up, because my phone might be a little bit low on battery, possibly. We've got Brighton coming up on Friday, who could be promoted tonight. I mean, I hope Chris Hughton gets a decent reception, personally. I hope he doesn't get too much stick, but I don't know if that's me living in a bubble in a dreamland.
No, I'd agree. I've just done my pointers there on the way to the wires, and that was 0.5. That Hughton does deserve, I think, a decent reception for the job he's done at Brighton. You know, to miss out and go so close. I mean, they went right down to the last day last season, didn't it? And then they lost out in the playoffs. To get that team potentially winning the title this time around and going into the Premier League, that's a fantastic job. And okay, he had his detractors at Norwich. There was that kind of tough to digest defensive kind of disciplined mindset, and adventurous. You know, we all know how that panned out, and it didn't end very favourably at Norwich. But you have to give him his due now. He's got a team out of the Championship with Newcastle. He looks like he's going to do it with Brighton, and he's obviously a very decent operator. He knows the football. He knows what the game is all about, and the planets just didn't align clearly. You know, it wasn't really the right marriage, him and Norwich City, but you know, good luck to him at Brighton, and it would be nice to see him get a decent reception. But I just hope Norwich can kick on now, and we don't have the the one step forward and one back approach. They've done the business away from home. Let's see a really positive, particularly after Fulham. You know, that wasn't good enough at Carrow Road, so we need to see a really good performance. But I think the reality is, if Huddersfield don't beat Derby and Brighton are up this evening, I think there might be a lot of celebrating going on in the South Coast. So I'm not sure what state those Brighton players will be in when they arrive at Carrow Road. So that's fair enough. Use it to your advantage and roll them over. So that'd be nice to see. But yeah, ultimately, good for Chris Hughton, good on him, and it's going to be tough in the Premier League for them. But they've earned the right. Especially with Newcastle losing Ipswich today. Losing ground, they lose. They're 3-1. Right, well in that case, that can't be too far from the title, never mind. No! Shock horror. Okay, final word I think should be for the 546 Norwich fans who made the trip on Easter Monday to Preston. Yeah. I mean, bravo is the word, I think. Yeah, no, ultimately and a lot of those, by definition, if you're watching Norwich at Preston on Easter Monday, you're a die-hard fan who's probably been to most of the other away games, so they will have seen, to take it right back to the start, one win away since Wolves in October, and that's tough to take, but you can't question their loyalty, and they deserve to have a nice trip home tonight, because too often it's been where do we go from here sort of thing on the road. But and it was nice as well that the final goal was at that end of the stadium, so when Maddison rolled that in, he could go and celebrate with the fans. So yeah, it was a nice moment all round, but needs to be the norm rather than the exception now next season, because ultimately, if you want to be upwardly mobile, and Brighton have proved it, I don't know how many they've won on the road, but substantially more than Norwich. If Norwich are going to get back to that sort of level, they have to be harder to beat, and we need to see more of these type of performances. Spot on. I can guarantee every one of those Norwich fans who made the trip today, that last couple of minutes all made it all worthwhile. Absolutely. Okay, thanks very much, Pad. Don't forget all our stuff, all our analysis and all that sort of huge and flipped will be at pinkun.com, so have a look at the website and the Facebook page. We'll all be on there too. And we'll do a podcast, shall we, on the way back tomorrow? Yeah, why not, indeed. Right.